Hello and welcome to Super OK, where we try to do a decent enough job to entertain people with our opinions on video games. As always, my name is Dale, and I'm joined here by Zando, who just shared a lovely story with me. Zando, how are you today? Still traumatized?
I mean, a little. Before we started recording, I told Dale that there's a band called the Day Players, and they are comprised of 4 dudes who are currently active on the roles of All My Children or General Hospital, the daytime soap operas. And did I say that right? Did I just say the same thing twice?
No, you did it. All My Children, General Hospital.
Yeah. And so they were at a comedy club in Royal Oak, and we had provided the sound equipment for them because it's a comedy club. They're not really meant for, bands to come and play. So we gave them like our soundboard and like set up, we did the sound check, and then they didn't need anybody to stay there, but they needed somebody to tear it all down. So I was told the event ended at 3. They did not end at 3. Their set had ended at 3, and then they came back out for a Q&A, which lasted another 45 minutes, and then photo ops. But the owner of the building, like the room was a pretty fairly sized room, and it was still full of a lot of people, but half the room had cleared out. And the owner had told me, he's like, man, this room was full of about 400 old women. I'm going to have to hose these seats down.
Jesus.
And they were thirsty as hell because during the Q&A, like one of the dudes was wearing like a vest and had his like muscular arms exposed. And they called out for the other guys to like take their shirts off. It was really awkward. But yeah, that's neither here nor there, nor is it video game related. So
yeah, I mean, this is Super OK. It's a podcast about video games, kinda.
Yeah.
So yeah,
these guys just play on the weekend. So if you're a fan of daytime soap operas and you want to be around a bunch of aged horny women, that's the place to go, apparently.
Dude, I did not even think about the possibility of like some cougar hunter using that as like a pickup spot. That's horrible. All right. Anyway, every week we start with a highlight of the week, and we know what yours is. But what's a different one for you? For our listeners, a highlight of the week is the thing that makes our week a little bit better, a little bit brighter, a little bit nicer to live in. So Zando, why don't you go first and share with us what your highlight of the week is?
So my wife went away for the weekend to do a like writing retreat / just like a general like quiet time of reflection kind of thing, and left me at home with the kids. So I got to hang out with them, which is great because I don't, with my job now, I get home about an hour and a half before they have to go to bed, and they're just crazy monsters. So it's always nice to actually have like quality time with them. So she left Friday night, and then I got to hang out with them for a little bit on Friday, and then all day Saturday, and that was pretty neat. Highlight of that being when a friend of mine came over towards the end of the night, brought dinner, and then afterwards we got to play Dice Throne, which is a game that I acquired recently but hadn't had a chance to play. And it's essentially combat Yahtzee, and I thought that would be a thing that my wife would be into, but after playing it the one time, I can assure you that no, it's not. There's too many rules, and she will not get into this game. So it will be relegated to when I have friends over. But playing Dice Throne was a lot of fun, even though I lost. It came down to be a lot closer than I expected it to be. And I played the Paladin, which I'm just always drawn towards that. But that was apparently the most complex character out of the 6 that I have. But it was a good time, and I got to hang out with a friend that was not my kids or my wife, and just have like adult time, and that was pretty cool.
Now, by saying you had adult time with your friend, that sounds like you were up to something salacious, but you weren't. You were just playing Dice Throne,
Combat
right?
Yahtzee, yeah.
Yeah, Combat Yahtzee. Okay, great. Yeah. Combat Yahtzee is interesting because it sounds like the sort of thing that my wife would also like. But I can guarantee that she also would not like Dice Throne. And the reason I can guarantee that is because, spoiler, the friend in that story was me. And that's also my highlight of the week, although it's a little bit different because, while Zando gets to hang out with his monstrous kids all the time, I very rarely get to see them. And so I like was very excited that I was going to get to spend time with them and have dinner with the kids and all that stuff. And that excitement only grew when, as I pulled up to the house and Xander like greeted me at the door to offer like carry stuff in, his young son Ben dashed out from beneath his arm into their garage and just screamed at me, "Uncle Dale, I love you!" Like, that was the first thing. And it only got better from there. Like, those kids went through like a pack of Polaroid photos while I was there, just taking photos of like the dumbest shit. It was great. Ben took one photo of me, and it is like 45% of my face in it, and then mostly ceiling. Like, it's just, it's so good.
You are one corner of that photo that's still on the kitchen counter.
Yeah, it was just great. They decided to tell some knock-knock jokes, and Helen, who's older, had a couple good ones that she was like, oh, she like knew these. And then Ben tried to get in on it by making up a knock-knock joke, which was, "Knock, knock, who's there? Hulk smash."
Hulk smash who?
Hulk smash.
Yep.
And then we laughed at that, and then I was like, but you could turn that into a real joke if the last, if it was knock, knock, who's there? Hulk smash.
Hulk smash who?
Hulk smash everyone, right?
Oh, like, man, that got him good.
Yeah, he was laughing, Helen was laughing. Because they were laughing, we were both laughing. And then Helen told the exact same joke. And then Ben was like, "Wait a second, guys. I've got a joke that you've never heard before," and told the exact same joke.
Yep.
And
like 3 times.
Yes. And so Xando and I are busting up, and then Helen tells the same joke. And then, as we're all laughing, she goes, "Now it's Ben's turn." It was so
he
good.
eventually reverted back to just Hulk smash.
Yes, but it was so good. The kids are a delight. One of my favorite things about being an uncle is I don't have to like deal with the laundry or the diapers or any of that stuff. And so this was truly awesome. Also, your kids go to sleep pretty quick, man. So that's pretty great.
Well, they were also tired as hell. Like, my mom came over that morning too, and so they spent the day with her. My daughter didn't nap, my son did, but they played hard, man. Like, they were doing somersaults and they were doing all kinds of stuff. So
it's true.
They did a lot of things, and it was I was very, even as excited as I was for you to come over in general, I was even more excited when I got Ben up from his nap, and I was like, "Hey buddy, Uncle Dale's gonna come over, he's gonna bring dinner tonight." And he just like is like laying against me. He goes, "Uncle Dale's my favorite." Like, I'm so excited for you to bring that energy to Dale, who's coming over.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, those kids wore me out, man. We were playing Simon Said, and I had to try and stand on my head.
Yep.
Like that. I'm old, man. I felt something inside me change or die. I'm not sure. Oh man. Yeah, but it was awesome. It was a great highlight to the week. So yeah, wonderful. Yep. Speaking of something inside of me dying, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you have probably heard me shift from a young, optimistic man to the husk of a shell of a human being that I am today. But also, if you've been listening for a while, you have probably heard us talk about the term Metroidvania. And when Xando and I got together on Saturday, we were looking through old episodes, and he goes, "Hey, do you know we've never done an episode on Metroidvanias?" And I went, "You're fucking crazy." And he was like, "No." And then we looked
the receipts.
Yeah. And then we looked for like 15 more minutes and we couldn't find one. And so we were like, all right, we should probably do a episode on Metroidvanias. And so that's what you're listening to right now. But what is a Metroidvania? Well, it's a term used to describe a subgenre of adventure games, oftentimes 2D platformers, although there's some muddiness around there, where there's a large interconnected world with some sections that are inaccessible until you've received a power-up somewhere else in the game. For example, like a double jump that lets you reach ledges that you previously could only see above you, and there's probably a power-up there, and you spend like 3 minutes jumping against the wall and looking for a rock, and then you realize like, shit, I gotta come back to this. And then you'll be able to get like the missiles that are up there or whatever. The term Metroidvania is a portmanteau of two of the pioneering games of this subgenre, Metroid and Castlevania, which were both released in 1986. Now, since then, the genre has exploded in popularity to the point where there are only over 2 2,500 games listed in the category in Steam. And some of those are even good. And so we're going to talk about those. So let's grab your whip, put on your Varia suit, and let's talk about Metroidvanias.
Let's do it.
We're going to start with an easy one. What was your introduction to Metroidvanias? Was it Metroid, Castlevania, something else? Do you remember how it made you feel when you played it? What do you got?
I remember playing Metroid and getting Metroid 2 Return of Samus on my Game Boy before knowing that they were Metroidvanias, and they were difficult, man. Like, for a kid who was like 5 or 6, like I just didn't really understand what was happening.
Yeah.
I thought the world was cool, and I just never put much more time into it. So when like Super Metroid came out, there was a lot of buzz about it, but I was like, oh man, I remember Metroid. I'm not good at that. So I didn't really think anything of it, but I had played the original Castlevanias, which were just the normal action platformers. And a friend of mine was like, man, you got to try Symphony of the Night. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, and fell in love with it. So arguably, Symphony of the Night is my very first introduction to Metroidvanias. And then sometime later, a friend of mine was like, you've not played Super Metroid? What the hell's wrong with you? Lend me his copy. And I was like, I got a good ways through. And I still remember the moment where I fell in love with Super Metroid and thought, this style of game reminds me of Symphony of the Night, and I love this style. It was the moment where I realized there was that glass tube that you had to use your super bombs to blow through. And like I had like walked around the entire map. I was like, where the fuck am I supposed to go? Like, am I just stuck? Why don't I understand what's happening here? And I just was like going through Morph Ball and randomly setting bombs, and all of a sudden the screen stops and a whole new spot of the map opened up to me. And I was like, that was fucking awesome. I need more of this.
Yeah, I know exactly the moment you're talking about, and that is a very, very cool moment in the game. Yeah, so my first experience, much like you, was playing Metroid. However, my family rented it, and it did not come with the instruction manual, so I had no idea what I was doing. And this was also a lot like during the time when I really only had played platformers that scrolled to the right. Like you couldn't go backwards in the games that I played. And so I legitimately think it took me like an hour to find the Morph Ball, which is like the first power up, but it's one screen to the left.
Yeah, because why would you go left when Mario has always told you need to go right, and the screen's going to lock if you try to go the other way?
Exactly. And so it broke my brain, and that was a bad time for a young Dale. But when I bought my Super NES, it came with a copy of Super Metroid. And the rest is history. We have talked about my love of that game on many a podcasts. And so, yeah. That's my intro, but my real intro was probably late night Super Metroid playing on a bed or playing on a TV that was hidden underneath my bed. Absolutely love it. So before we dive deep into like specific games that we want to talk about here, there's some controversy around Metroidvanias in that, some people say that the name is bad and that we need a new one that doesn't contain any game names in that name. So what is your new name?
Castle Troid.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, it is bad because fuck everybody. The name is awesome and honors the games that trailblazed the genre. So like if roguelikes and Souls-likes can be genres, then so can Metroidvania. If you really want to get into it, then I guess action puzzle platformer, but that doesn't really roll off the tongue nearly as well as Metroidvania.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. I tried to think of like some alternate names, and I came up with like power up games or like non-linear progression games, and those all suck. They just sound bad.
Like map exploration platform, like it's too wordy. It's too much.
Yeah. I like your point about paying homage to like the games that spawned the genre. I don't have a problem with calling all platform fighters Smash likes.
Yeah.
So I agree, but if we had to go with something else, I think non-linear progression based games would probably be it. But that sucks. It sucks.
Yep. It's a good maybe the right answer, but it's not a good answer.
Yeah, exactly. So, and to your point about like roguelikes and souls-likes, for some reason, all of those people are fine with roguelikes,
Yep.
but they do not like souls-likes for some reason.
Oh,
And
they
so
really Souls-likes isn't a preferred name for that genre?
for those people who take exception with Metroidvanias, because I've seen that argument online about like, yeah, we should get away from Souls likes also. It's not like From like owns that genre. From kind of owns the genre, guys.
Right. No one
Like,
else is really doing it.
I mean, there are other companies that are doing it. Square has Neo, and there's that game The Surge and that sort of stuff, but none of them do it like From, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I
And
think there's also like Hollow Knight is an example of like a Souls-like Metroidvania, which is just got to piss a lot of people off.
yeah, man. If you're listening to this, let us know why you have such a strong opinion on the naming of some genres. I would love to hear that. The other thing that people have a hard time deciding on is what the exact specifications are that make a game a Metroidvania. So, what is your definition? Get really specific with it.
So to get super specific, I would say it has to be like a map exploration kind of game that is enhanced by power ups or abilities that you unlock through exploration or completing certain tasks. One thing that I think keeps like the Legend of Zelda games from being considered Metroidvanias is the fact that you get keys to unlock areas. Keys are nowhere near as exciting as dropping a super bomb and blowing your way into Meridia for the first time. So, I mean, if those had been different abilities, an argument could be made. I think there are a lot of similarities to like a Zelda to a Metroid game or a Metroidvania, but I think it has to be based on just your abilities or your um, power ups helping you try to figure out some new way to access an area that beforehand had seemed like, oh, I'm just not supposed to go that way.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I would like to add on the fact that at least for me to consider it a Metroidvania, the entire world must be interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
So there shouldn't be like discrete levels, which I think Legend of Zelda, like there's discrete dungeons where you
Right.
go through the dungeon, and once you've beaten the dungeon, there's no reason for you to go back there.
Fair
And
enough.
backtracking is also a big part about Metroidvanias, where it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm running through here. Oh, there's some money that I can't pick up right now, or a grub, to your point about Hollow Knight, that I can't get right now, but maybe I'll be able to get it later, like that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because like the difference between like beating a boss and getting a key and then putting that key in a door, and getting a boss and beating a boss and getting a hook shot and using that hook shot to get to a different inaccessible area seems like such a small difference when you think about it, but from a game loop perspective,
Mm-hmm.
it feels so much more rewarding to get a hook shot that could do all of these other things that also happens to open this one door, or
Yeah.
these 6 doors, or these 7 different doors in quotation marks that like you had seen before, and now suddenly you can go there, and oh, there's this whole area behind this like hill that you couldn't crest because you couldn't get like the exploration of it, the backtracking of it. And I really agree with your point about power-ups being essential to not only the like gameplay loop, but also to enhancing the exploration of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we said basically the same thing, except
More or less.
I added in the stuff about backtracking, which is pretty freaking important, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
So cool. All right. So we've talked about all these different power ups that can give you different traversal powers and unlock areas and combat abilities and that sort of thing. But what are some of your favorite power ups from Metroidvanias, and why is the best one the screw attack from Metroid?
I mean, the screw attack is just incredible. Like there's a reason they don't give it to you till the end of the game because it's just overpowered.
Yeah, it's so strong.
For the uninitiated, the screw attack is an attack that as you jump, you just deal belligerent damage to anything that you hit, and also can help you destroy walls. So any wall that would normally have been destroyed by a missile or some other power up, it just eats away at that. So when you include that with the ability to just air jump in, like space jump in Metroid is a thing that just lets you continually jump so long as you are in a somersault action. It's just a way to traverse across the screen while literally killing anything that's in your way.
Yeah.
But other than
you're flying and a death machine.
Yep. It's you've unlocked supersonic mode and you're just running through everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of that, I don't even know if you can consider a Metroidvania game. And I should have said this with the last question. I don't know if you can consider a Metroidvania game if you can't double jump, or at the very least have your jump height increased. Having your mobility, in those games is a lot of fun, being able to figure out like, oh, I can wall jump now or anything like that. And anything that helps you explore the area a little bit better is always so cool in these games.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree that mobility is key when it comes to like the most fun power-ups, because it lets you experience the like game that you've been playing for a couple hours already in a completely new way.
Mm-hmm.
I will agree that Screw Attack is probably the best, like from an objective standpoint.
Yeah.
But my favorite power-up in a Metroidvania is actually Poyo Power from Guacamelee, which is where the devil teaches you how to control your curse that turns you into a chicken, and it allows you to become a chicken at will, which is great by itself, right? Because it's like Morph Ball, but you're a chicken instead. But what's even better about it is that then later on, you gain other abilities that are based on your chicken skill, right? So it's like, oh, you can become a chicken. Cool. Well, what else can you do? Oh, I don't know. Maybe you can like, fly a little bit, or sprint and become invincible, or lay egg bombs, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's this one power that unlocks all of these other powers, and you're a freaking chicken, and the devil let you do it. So all of that is amazing to me.
That needs to be a t-shirt. I'm a chicken and the devil let me do it.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's great. Also, if you haven't yet played Guacamelee, it's got some of the best names in any game I've ever played. One of them is called the Dashing Derp Derp.
Nice.
And when you ask, like, why is it called that? They say that they ran out of names when they were naming the move.
That's awesome.
It's so good. It's so good.
I have played Guacamelee, but I've never finished it. When I had my Wii U, there was like a Nintendo Humble Bundle that came with that. And so that was my first experience. I never knew that it was a Metroidvania, and I did really enjoy it. But something, right as I got towards the end of it, something grabbed my attention and I just never went back. So I have it and the sequel on Steam. I just need to find the time to play it.
Well worth checking them out. So in that same vein, though, I mean, in the past decade, this subgenre has absolutely exploded. It took a while, right? Like,
yeah,
it was a good long while after Metroid and Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night that somebody else, like outside of those two companies, tried something like this. But since then, man, it has gone absolutely wild. So why don't we share some of our favorites? I already talked about Guacamelee. Absolutely incredible. But I also want to give a huge shout out to Dead Cells, which is like this really tough roguelike Metroidvania. Everybody should check this out. It is very, very good. Especially if you like, progression both in and out of a roguelike run. Like, this does that very well. I cannot say enough good things about Hollow Knight. We've talked about it on the podcast before, but it is absolutely a masterpiece. If you haven't yet checked it out, you 100% should.
Yeah, Hollow Knight is incredible. And the first time I played it, I was like, this is too hard for me, or I don't get the appeal of it. And weirdly enough, it was ordering things off the website Fangamer. And they would keep sending me like they always send you like a sticker or something with your order. And every time I would get an order, it would be something Hollow Knight. It's like, well, there has to, like, Fangamer very rarely backs anything that's not great.
Right.
So I was like, let me give Hollow Knight another shot. And I did. And I was like, oh, I get it now. To the point where I think on my Switch, I have every single achievement you can get, including going through like on the harder difficulties, going through on Iron, what I think it's called Iron Soul mode or something like that, where permadeath is a thing. It's a lot of fun, and there's so many different ways you can go through it and figuring out the different charms and everything. Like it's really good, and it's just like a cool aesthetic. The music is great. Like you said, it's a masterpiece. If it weren't for like Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night, one could argue it's the greatest Metroidvania that's out there. Cave Story is also super charming. It's a little less Metroidvania-ish. Like it doesn't rely, I feel like it doesn't rely too much on backtracking. It kind of has these areas that they're like their own kind of contained things, but you can eventually go back and find secrets, which is really cool. And then if you go through a certain way, you can unlock like the hell run at the end, which is just like a cool challenge kind of thing to do. And I know some people might argue against this, but I'm going to gush again on the Messenger. The Messenger is fantastic. It starts off like a classic kind of Castlevania style game, and then eventually opens into this full, like, you need to backtrack and find all these different things, Metroidvania style world. And just that whole conversion is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think the Messenger is definitely gets classified as a Metroidvania.
Yeah, that's another one that I had played a little bit of, and I was like, yeah, I can understand why people like this, but I'm not going to put too much more time into it. And then someone said, oh, it's considered a Metroidvania. I was like, I'm sorry, what? And then I went back and then fell in love with it.
All right. Yeah, that's those are all good recommendations. But not all Metroidvanias get the spotlight. Like most of those that we just talked about are pretty well known. Are there any lesser known Metroidvanias that you want to recommend? Some that you haven't played yet that you want to, that sort of thing?
Yeah, Zeo Drifter and Gato Roboto are both short and sweet Metroidvanias for if you need a quick fix or if you're just kind of looking for an intro into the genre without having to devote Super Metroid takes about 8 hours to finish if you wanted to go and give that a shot. But Gato Roboto, like you can literally finish in about 3 hours your first time through.
Nice.
So, and Zeo Drifter, I think, is even shorter than that. They are, I would say Gato Roboto is a little more of that kind of style than Zeo Drifter, but Zeo Drifter is like a real, like you can beat it in 40 minutes and kind of get like, oh, I kind of like the idea of this. I wish there was more. Then, maybe check out Gato Roboto or just jump into Super Metroid. But either one of those are great, short and sweet styles with a great retro aesthetic to them. Shadow Complex was a really cool game on Xbox 360. It was released as a Summer of Live kind of thing that I feel like everybody has forgotten about. And it was like a big deal because it was like Epic Games had put it out, and that was back before they are just like their own Steam kind of thing. Now they had like Gears of War and a couple other handful of titles, but they put that one out. And I didn't realize it was a Metroidvania until I got a good ways into it. And then a friend of mine was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like one of those Metroidvania style games. Like, oh shit, you're right. That's why I'm enjoying it so much. The different weapons that you would get to, like, you'd get these different like sci-fi style guns and you're just breaking down walls and stuff with those. Like, oh, that totally makes sense. That's why I'm digging this so much. Of course, I'm still looking forward to Silk Song. I'm assuming that's going to be wonderful. And I do have a few in my Steam library that I need to get around to. Like we mentioned, Guacamelee. There's a game called Haiku the Robot that I've put a little bit of time into that I'd like to finish. And Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I'm kind of embarrassed that I haven't played more of this. I loved Curse of the Moon. And I need to play the proper title sometime. And I've also been meaning to put more time into Dead Cells. So based on your recommendation, I feel like I need to go back on that one as well. And they've got all sorts of downloadable content that tie in other games.
Yeah.
Like one of the times I played through, I got the nail, which is the sword from Hollow Knight. So that's kind of neat. And I know they recently did a whole Castlevania thing. So I definitely need to put more time into that game.
Yeah, the Dead Cells developer, it is obvious that this is a labor of love. He is doing all sorts of cool stuff, adding a bunch of power-ups from other Metroidvanias. Like, it's very cool. It's very cool. I played a game called Fist, which stands for Forged in Shadow Touch. Terrible name. Also, terrible box cover art. Very good game. Really interesting take on the genre of Metroidvanias. Got a good storyline to it, which is kind of cool. And I'm pretty sure, at least as of this recording, it is still on Game Pass, so you can check it out there. I own Secret Shame Time. I own both Ori games. I have yet to play either of them.
Man, I still haven't played the second one, but the first one is fantastic. I
have heard nothing but great things about both of them. My Nibblings actually gifted me one of them, and it's a secret shame that I've yet to play them. So I need to. And then the last one that I want to shout out is called Have a Nice Death. It's this really wild like roguelike Metroidvania where you play as Death, who has lost most of his power because he spent eons doing paperwork. And so he has to fight his way out of hell to the demons who aren't like doing their job correctly. And so you're fighting against demons the whole time. And it's really funny. It's really fun. And I really enjoyed it. And if you are more curious about Have a Nice Death, we actually have a video review of it up on our YouTube, so you can check that out too.
I heard that title a bunch. I didn't know that it was a Metroidvania.
Yep, roguelike Metroidvania. So neat. Yeah, really cool.
I need to throw out another honorable mention to a game I need to play, and I mentioned it previously on the podcast. Switch Witch.
Oh, okay.
I'm told it's despite just it being a boob game, a hentai game, if you will, that it is actually a really solid Metroidvania. And if I can ever get over the shame of purchasing it, I need to play that one.
I want to make it abundantly clear that you said boob game, if you will, and I will not. But I am glad that you are willing to go down that road. Yeah, other games that I haven't yet played and I really want to, by the way, the Axiom Verge series. I've heard really, really good things about
that's
that.
Another one. Yeah. Yep. I've played a good chunk of the first one, and I can confirm it's good. It's the same thing. I something dragged me away from it and I never finished it.
Yeah, I straight up own it on the Switch and I've never played it. So
I'll do you one better. I think I own both of them on the Switch, and I have not gone through them.
Yeah. And then just from like a recency standpoint, we've been talking about Metroidvanias this whole time. I recently played through Metroid Dread, and it is really, really very, very good.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah. Definitely worth playing. It's on the Switch. It is a classic. It's a return to form. Really, really enjoyed it. Did not go back. They added a bunch of DLC after I beat it. I haven't gone back to it, and I want to. There's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah,
I've got to spread democracy and kill bugs and robots and shit. So,
I don't think I heard about the DLC, man. I have to look into that now too. Thanks.
Yeah, they did like a new game plus to it and added a bunch of like difficulty levels, if I'm not mistaken. And so yeah, definitely worth taking a look at.
I also need to play the Metroid Prime Remastered that came out.
Yeah.
Because Metroid Prime was a game that I mocked for a very long time, because it came out right around the time I played Super Metroid for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I was just really anti first person shooters because we were like kind of drowning in them at the time. I was like, why are you going to take such a great style game like Metroid and turn it into a first person shooter? That's dumb. And I rented it and I was like, this is dumb. I hate it. I like this a lot. I think it's really good. Man, this is a great game.
Yeah, it is a great game. Honestly, that might be a little bit of our inspiration for doing this. Is a couple weeks back, we did the deck builder episode, and almost immediately afterwards, they announced Slay the Spire 2. Mm-hmm. And so we're kind of hoping that if we do a Metroidvania episode, they'll announce something about Silk Song or Metroid Prime 4 or one of the other millions of Metroidvanias that people have been waiting decades for. Yep. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be so cool if Silk Song gets a confirmed release date, or we hear anything else about Metroid Prime 4 aside from the one teaser image we got.
Yeah, just the
like
logo
8 years ago.
Yeah, pulling a Bethesda on us. It's bullshit.
Here, Metroid Prime 4 is coming
to the Wii U.
No, it was the first E3 after the Switch came out.
Yeah, I know, but they're gonna do some dumb shit like put it only on the Wii U.
They literally have said nothing about it since then. They've not acknowledged it. They've not mentioned it. There are like website timers that is like it has been this long since Metroid Prime 4 has been announced, and we've heard nothing else since.
Yeah, bad times, Nintendo.
Yep.
I know you're watching or you're listening, Doug Bowser. Fucking tell us some shit. Tell us, Doug Bowser.
Tell us all the things.
Yeah. All right. So, we've been talking about Metroid. We've been talking about Castlevania the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
They're at the root of the genre. They're two of the greatest games in the genre. Super Metroid, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You got to pick one, and you got to back it to the death. And there will be only one reigning champ.
Well, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to go first because I am obviously picking Super Metroid. It is just such a great game. It does such an amazing job of not only creating an atmosphere and making you feel isolated, and the soundtrack is a masterpiece, but it also does such a good job of laying down like the framework for what this genre could be, the wonderment that you have, the secrets that you can uncover, the vast variety of power-ups, whether they be things that you're shooting or dropping or exploding or changing to your suit or mobility. There's the time in it when the guy teaches you to wall jump and you're like, what the fuck? I could have been doing this the whole time. And the answer is yes, you could have. And so all of that is just absolutely amazing to me. I 100% love this game. It is, in fact, still my favorite game to this day, which is a little bit wild, but it's true. And then also, top secret confession time, I'll go first. Never played Symphony of the Night. So, Xando, why don't you tell us about that one?
I will as soon as I pull this dagger out of my heart.
I know.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Jesus. So obviously I need to take the other side. I need to say that I do love Super Metroid. If you've listened to me on this podcast at all, you know how much I talk about it and how much I love it, and I won't stop shutting up about the Zelda randomizer that throws in Super Metroid. But I have to go with honestly Symphony of the Night, just because I feel like it is a better game. Super Metroid is wonderful. It's classic. But I mean, the RPG elements, the spells, the weapon combinations, the surprise second map, the music, I think is heads and shoulders above Super Metroid.
That's wild.
I mean, Super Metroid is a great ambient soundtrack. Like when you came over the other day, we listened to it on vinyl, and it's a good thing if you're playing the game and you're watching what's happening. It's a good soundtrack, and it fits everything, and it's wonderful. Castlevania Symphony of the Night soundtrack you can listen to anytime, and you don't, it's not like you need to be in that mindset to enjoy the music.
You're saying it's the pizza bagel of OSTs.
That's pizza bagel, man. You can have it anytime, in the morning, in the evening, at supper time. Yeah, man. And it's just, I feel like Super Metroid walked so that Symphony of the Night could get the speed upgrade and then reach new areas. I'm really, really sad for you that you've not played Symphony of the Night.
Well, I do appreciate your clever wordplay, I've got to say. Super Metroid rules.
Super Metroid does rule, but not quite as much as Symphony of the Night. I need to figure out a way that you can play this game. The voice acting. I didn't even mention the voice acting. It's so bad, but it's so wonderful. Oh man, that's the game opens up from the last with the last level of the previous Castlevania game, and you're like, oh, it's going to be like this, and then it flips the script down. It's like, nope, it's this whole new exploration game. Have fun with it. It's it's like cheesy. It's like Resident Evil 1, the first PlayStation version style of voice acting, where it's like cheesy but awesome cheesy. Okay. I'm sure you've seen the opening. Like you have to have at least seen the opening. Die, monster. There is no need for you in this world. It is not by my hand. I was once again given flesh. I was called here by humans who wish to pay me tribute. Tribute? You steal men's souls and make them your slaves. What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. Have at you. Oh, so good.
Did you look that up or
no? It's burned into my memory.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I will just, I'm not trying to upset you or anything, but I will say that I looked up a rank of different Metroidvanias, and Castlevania, not Symphony of the Night, interestingly enough, Castlevania,
probably Dawn of Sorrows or Aria of Sorrows.
Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Symphony of the Night is ranked number 2.
Underneath,
Super Metroid is number 1.
I mean, it's a fair, it's like a whole, like, is Die Hard a Christmas movie kind of thing? Like,
no, it just is. Die Hard is.
It absolutely is. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things that it's just going to be eternally argued. But to me, Castlevania is the better game.
Fair enough. I mean, it's a matter of opinion. Speaking of which, we would love to hear your opinion. So if you have an opinion on which is a better Metroidvania or just a better game in general, drop it in the Discord. We would love to hear about it because this is a never-ending conversation potentially. And so as many voices as we can get to vote on this, the more easy it'll be for me to convince Zando that it's better than a game I haven't played yet.
Man, you have a Steam Deck. You have so many options.
I know.
Just do it.
I know. It's not a matter of option. It's a matter of hours. I just downloaded Earthbound for my phone. Like, what do you want from me?
I mean, for you to play Earthbound and also Symphony of the Night.
Exactly.
Why can't you just play all of my favorite things?
You know what? Somebody give me unlimited vacation time. I'm doing it. Oh, man. Yeah. Anyway, it is time for our last question here. Our last question is sponsored by Kung Pao 2, Tongue of Fury, the once teased and long forgotten sequel to Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
Classic cinema.
It really is. If you haven't watched Kung Pao Enter the Fist, it's very, very, very good. Like this episode on Metroidvania, that shit is just long overdue. Give us the sequel to Kung Pao 2. You now have the episode on Metroidvanias. But now you are in charge of rebooting a long dormant franchise as a Metroidvania. How you going to do it?
For me, it's going to be with Bionic Commando. And I know that's contradictory to my statement that a Metroidvania can't be a Metroidvania if you can't jump. But I think the enhancement to extend your bionic arm would be neat. New guns to get through different walls, key cards to access different areas of the map. Honestly, Bionic Commando kind of already is a Metroidvania, but without the backtracking. Although now that I'm saying that, you do have to backtrack in previous levels to get to the final level. So maybe it already is, but it's not because it's that. Then this answer is
just levels. Yeah.
Yes, it's just levels. But yeah, to have a way where you can kind of go back through the different areas and like now you've got the night vision goggles or whatever, so you can explore this area. Like I think it lends itself really well to being a Metroidvania game. So we just need to finish that circle of it almost being a Metroidvania game and add it to the list. Also, it's a Capcom game, so I'm already definitely going to buy it.
Yeah, that checks out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the lore, I'm not up to date on my lore of Bionic Commando. Isn't the lore that his like metal arm is also his wife or something?
In the 2000, I think it was 2009 reboot of the series, which basically went nowhere. Yeah, they did that and it was cringy as hell and no one liked it.
Okay, so we're not talking about a game where like suddenly you're upgrading your wife. So that's good. I'm glad we can get away from that.
No, I want it to be. The Game Boy version of Bionic Commando has always been my favorite. So that I'm going that way, where you just literally just had an enhancement of your arm that could grab stuff.
Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure we weren't doing any weird shit. You know.
Yeah, we don't need to upgrade wives.
That's not what we're here for on this podcast. No weird shit allowed. Anyway, my question is, how has there not already been a Sonic Metroidvania? Like, think about it. You could very easily earn various mobility power-ups by beating Robotnik's lackeys or saving your friends. Like, you could get Knuckles' wall grabbing and climbing ability, Metal Sonic's magnet boots that unlock new areas or allow you to, like, withstand windy areas, that sort of thing. The equivalent to, like, a screw attack would obviously be Tails being able to, like, help you fly, like that sort of thing. But the key point to this is that speed upgrades are always awesome in Metroidvanias.
Mm-hmm.
And in this game, not only would you start faster than ever, but it's so freaking on theme to be faster that it's like a no-brainer. Sega should 100% be making this game if they aren't already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I mean, almost like in the same vein of like the bloodstained Curse of the Moon, where you could switch characters through the levels. That might also just be a cool thing. Like, oh, you need to let you find your partners, and then now you can go to this new area or something like that. That could be done very well. I think that's another right answer.
Sega, get your shit together, man.
I also want to give a shout out to my backup answer, which is Mega Man would be a great Metroidvania.
Yeah.
And now that series is basically laid dormant for the past like 7 years. So I think it's time to reboot that. I mean, it's already in there basically. You just have to add in backtracking and interconnect the levels. How cool would it be to be going in through one character's level and then use your Guts Man arm throw to break down a wall, and all of a sudden you're in a different level? Like, I think it just lends itself to it so easily.
Yeah, it does. Especially if you like change the game to where it's like, oh man, why are all these levels connected? Oh, because you start by fighting Wily, and you're like, the hub area is like Wily's castle, and then it's like, oh man, you've got to help me take out all these robot masters who like have messed me up or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a game writer, but I think that this is a good idea. I think it's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And plus, like, you already have a little bit of that in the Mega Man games where it's like you get one of the weapons and it's good against the others. Or, oh man, in like the X games, where the Mega Man X games, not the ESPN X games, where like
we were just shifting gears totally for a second.
No, Mega Man X, where like if you have specific power ups, it'll allow you to take a different path in a level or find a hidden E-tank or something like that.
Yeah,
like there's already exactly. There's already like little bits of that throughout a lot of the Mega Man games. So yeah, do this. Figure it out.
It's another Capcom game, so I'm gonna buy it.
It's true. It's very true. Cool. So that brings us to the end of our episode. You got anything else you want to say about Metroidvanias?
We already touched on how we want you to jump in the Discord and give us your opinion on those games. Except Dan, we don't want your opinion. Fuck you, Dan.
Yeah, seriously, Dan. We do not give a shit about your opinion on Metroid. So mean. So needless.
It is. He's catching strays.
He really is. So hop in the Discord, tell us your opinion on Metroidvanias. I guarantee you guys all have takes that we don't, and I want to know about them. And then also,
I actually just want to know how many people also haven't played either Super Metroid or Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Yeah, I can tell you, I'm still hurting.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I
cannot believe you have, like, as much as you love Super Metroid, you've not played that game. That blows my mind. I never
meant to make you cry.
Well, you did it anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, if you are a Patreon, thank you immensely for your support. Your ongoing support allows us to keep this podcast free, so we are super grateful for that. Outside of that, why don't you tell the people where you can be found?
You can find me at comedy clubs in Royal Oak, tearing down for the day players.
Just hosing down seats, man. Gross as hell.
No, man, I don't have to hose down the seats. I'm just tearing down tech. But
oh man,
you can find me hunting cougars at the day players. And also in the Discord is Zando. I'm in there all the time.
Great. You can find me workshopping knock jokes for children. Punching them up just a little bit. And then I am also on Blue Sky and in the Discord as a 20-sided ninja. I'm on Steam. I'm on Xbox. I'm on I'm not on my PlayStation so much while my house is still floating. But I'm on the Switch. Like, friend me everywhere. Do it. You can find all of my info to do all of that friending in the Discord. I want to play games with you, man. That's what I want.
Do it.
Do it. You won't, coward. All right. I think that's everything. Why don't you say goodbye to the humans?
Goodbye, humans.
Goodbye, human. Oh, wait. If you think of a question that we didn't ask here, let us know. Because, like, I don't know. We're pretty familiar with this, but maybe you ain't. So let us know in the Discord. We'll answer all your questions, too.
And give us more Metroidvania recommendations.
Yeah. If you loved it.
After Symphony of the Night and Ori.
Yeah. And the other Ori.
Before, damn it.
All right. Awesome. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone. Hope you have a super okay day.